Imagine walking down the Las Vegas Strip in 2025. The neon still glows, the Bellagio fountains still leap into the desert sky. But something feels off. The crowds are thinner, the blackjack tables sit empty, and echoes replace the chaos that once defined Sin City. How did the world's most famous playground, a city built on dreams, greed, and second chances, end up staring at empty lobbies and hollow nights? Today, we're peeling back the layers of history to tell you the untold story of Las Vegas. From its mob-financed birth in the desert sands, through decades of glory, to the cracks that no one wanted to see until it was too late. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why nobody's in Las Vegas anymore. The birth of a dream, 1940 to 1960. Picture this. The Nevada desert in the 1940s. A barren landscape broken only by tumbleweeds and a railroad stop. Nobody would have bet their life savings that this patch of sand would become the entertainment capital of the world. And yet, this wasteland held two aces up its sleeve: legalized gambling and the Hoover Dam. When the Hoover Dam was completed in 1936, it didn't just provide electricity, it provided possibility. Thousands of workers settled nearby, bringing life, money, and momentum. By 1946, Bugsy Siegel, Meyer Lansky, and other East Coast mobsters smelled opportunity. Siegel opened the Flamingo, Vegas's first true luxury casino hotel. With marble floors, pink flamingo decor, and Hollywood's elite on the guest list, it was a rebirth for gambling. No longer just smoky back rooms, but a glamorous fantasy. The 1950s only turned up the volume. New casinos like the Sands, the Sahara, and the Desert Inn lit up the Strip, and the Rat Pack, Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., transformed Vegas into the beating heart of American nightlife. Where else could a broke soldier on leave drink next to a Hollywood starlet? Vegas didn't sell cards and dice, it sold the dream of possibility. And here's the wildest part. Just 65 miles away, the U.S. military tested atomic bombs. Tourists gathered on hotel rooftops to sip atomic cocktails and watch mushroom clouds bloom in the distance. Dangerous? Absolutely. Absurd? Completely. But that surreal blend of risk, thrill, and spectacle was pure Vegas. By 1960, the transformation was undeniable. Las Vegas had gone from a forgotten railroad stop to a shimmering oasis of vice and wonder. But the bigger the dream, the higher the stakes. And in the decades to come, Vegas would find out just how fragile its fantasy really was. The Golden Decades, 1970 to 1990. If the 1940s and 50s were about building the dream, the 1970s and 80s were about living it. By this era, Las Vegas wasn't just a desert mirage anymore. It was America's playground. And it was cheap. Shockingly cheap. Air travel exploded during these decades, and suddenly middle-class families from Ohio or Kansas could afford a weekend in Sin City. Casinos leaned into the loss leader strategy. $20 hotel rooms, $5 all-you-can-eat buffets, and free drinks as long as you kept gambling. The casinos didn't care if you filled your plate 3 times or passed out at the bar, because the longer you stayed, the more money you lost. And the house? The house always won. The icons of the Strip reflected this arms race of spectacle. The MGM Grand opened in 1973 as the largest hotel in the world. The stardust on the Tropicana kept upping the neon glow. Every new casino tried to outshine the last, as if brighter bulbs could guarantee bigger fortunes. And then there was the entertainment. Elvis Presley's residency at the International Hotel rewrote the playbook for what Vegas shows could be. Night after night, the King packed rooms with screaming fans. Meanwhile, Siegfried and Roy turned white tigers into strip royalty, their acts equal parts danger and wonder. Vegas became the city where faded Hollywood stars could reinvent themselves, where careers were reborn under neon lights. But beneath the glitz, something else was happening. The mob, the very force that birthed Vegas, was losing its grip. Federal investigations in the late 70s and 80s cracked down hard, and courtroom trials pushed organized crime out of the casino business. Into that vacuum stepped Wall Street. Corporate America arrived with balance sheets, shareholders, and a colder vision of how to run a city built on excess. Still, for the everyday visitor, the golden decades felt unstoppable. By the late 1980s, Vegas was pulling in more than 20 million visitors a year, an unimaginable number for a city that barely existed 40 years earlier. The unofficial motto wasn't yet, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas," but the spirit was alive. Bachelor parties, honeymooners, retirees, conventioneers, everyone found a reason to join the neon carnival. Vegas had perfected the formula: affordable indulgence, outrageous spectacle, and the promise that anyone, rich or poor, could be a high roller for one weekend. But behind the curtain, the city was already changing hands. Corporate Vegas was waiting in the wings, ready to rewrite the rules. And in the 1990s and 2000s, they would go bigger, bolder, and more extravagant than anyone could have imagined. The age of the mega resorts was about to begin. The age of mega resorts, 2000 to 2010. By the turn of the millennium, Las Vegas wasn't just competing with Reno or Atlantic City. It was competing with the entire world. And its answer was ruthless in its simplicity. Build bigger, build flashier, build something no one had ever seen before. Gone were the intimate mob-era casinos and the kitschy lounge acts. In their place rose mega resorts, sprawling fantasy worlds where you didn't just gamble, you lived inside an illusion. The Venetian brought gondoliers and canals straight from Italy. Paris Las Vegas built a glittering half-scale Eiffel Tower. The Bellagio's fountains became a global icon, dancing in choreographed symphonies that felt more like Broadway than a hotel attraction. And in 2005, Wynn Las Vegas redefined luxury entirely with sleek design, private lakes, and gardens that looked like something out of Versailles. It wasn't just about the casino floor anymore. The Strip became a complete ecosystem. Michelin-starred restaurants, sprawling shopping malls, and nightclubs that could rival anything in Ibiza. Cirque du Soleil productions turned Vegas stages into billion-dollar spectacles. And suddenly, the city wasn't just America's playground, it was a global one. The numbers told the story. In 2007, Las Vegas hit an all-time record of 39 million visitors in a single year. High rollers jetted in from Hong Kong and Dubai, rubbing shoulders with Silicon Valley millionaires. Conventions exploded in scale, with trade shows like CES bringing hundreds of thousands of attendees. Wall Street's hospitality giants, MGM Resorts, Caesars Entertainment, ran the Strip like a fine-tuned machine, measuring every inch of the guest experience in dollars per minute. But here's the catch. All that luxury came at a cost. The days of $20 rooms and $5 buffets vanished. Freebies disappeared. Resort logic shifted from loss leaders to premium pricing. Suddenly, visitors paid for every convenience: $20 cocktails, steep room rates, and hidden surcharges at every turn. And then came 2008. The global financial crisis hit Las Vegas like a sledgehammer. Tourism collapsed, unemployment soared, and once ambitious projects, like the Fontainebleau Resort, were left half-finished, standing as billion-dollar skeletons on the Strip. Construction froze, workers fled, and for the first time in decades, the city's endless optimism cracked. By 2010, Vegas was clawing its way back, but something fundamental had shifted. The mega-resort era had proven that bigger is better, but it also revealed how fragile that model was when the money stopped flowing. Behind the glitz, questions lingered. Had Vegas built itself into a corner? Could the city ever balance luxury with accessibility again? Because in the decade that followed, those cracks would only widen. The first cracks appear, 2010 to 2019. The 2010s should have been a victory lap. Las Vegas had survived the Great Recession. Tourists were trickling back, and new attractions like the Link Promenade and the towering high-roller Ferris wheel promised fresh excitement. Superstar residencies, Celine Dion, Britney Spears, Lady Gaga, filled arenas. On the surface, Vegas was back. But if you looked closer, the cracks were hard to miss. For decades, Vegas was built on a simple promise. No matter your budget, you could live like royalty for a weekend. But by the mid-2000s, that promise was quietly dying. Enter the resort fee era. Once an afterthought, these hidden charges ballooned to $30, $40, even $50 a night, tacked onto every hotel bill. Parking, free since the Strip's birth, now carried a daily fee. Buffets shrank, prices climbed, and casino payouts tightened. Blackjack tables that once offered 3-2 odds quietly shifted to 6-5. Slot machines tightened their returns. In short, the city that once gave now took. Corporate logic had fully replaced Vegas magic. The focus wasn't on keeping you entertained, it was on maximizing revenue per guest. And visitors noticed. Travel blogs and social media lit up with complaints. Vegas is too expensive now. It doesn't feel worth it anymore. That sense of possibility, that you could beat the house, score a bargain, or feel like a high roller, was fading. Meanwhile, competition wasn't waiting. Macau overtook Las Vegas in 2006 as the world's gambling capital, and throughout the 2010s it only grew, pulling away Asian high rollers who once filled Strip penthouses. Cities like Dubai, Singapore, and even Miami began offering their own blends of nightlife, casinos, and luxury, often fresher, newer, and more affordable. Then came the night that changed everything. On October 1st, 2017, gunfire rained down from the Mandalay Bay into a crowd at a country music festival, killing 60 and wounding hundreds. It became the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. The tragedy scarred the city, a brutal reminder that even the neon glow couldn't shield Las Vegas from real-world horrors. By 2019, the numbers looked strong. Over 40 million visitors came that year. But underneath, the vibe was different. Tourists grumbled about higher costs. Locals felt squeezed by rising rents and stagnant wages. The Strip glittered as brightly as ever, but the whispers grew louder. Vegas isn't what it used to be. The cracks were there, spreading silently. All it would take was one massive shock to split them wide open. And in 2020, that shock arrived. The COVID-19 shock, 2020 to 2021. Las Vegas has always been a city of noise. The clang of slot machines, the roar of cheering crowds, the thump of nightclub bass spilling into the desert night. That was the heartbeat of Sin City. But in March 2020, for the first time since the Strip's creation, the noise stopped. And what replaced it was something no one had ever imagined: silence. When COVID-19 swept across the United States, Nevada's governor made the unthinkable call. All casinos, hotels, and entertainment venues would shut down. The Strip went dark. Neon still glowed, fountains still danced, but there was no one to watch. Fremont Street, normally shoulder to shoulder with tourists, stood empty. Taxi drivers waited for fares that never came. At McCarran Airport, the endless stream of flights evaporated almost overnight. The economic fallout was immediate and brutal. Tens of thousands of hospitality workers, bartenders, blackjack dealers, waitresses, stagehands, were suddenly unemployed. Families who had worked the Strip for generations now lined up at food banks, stretching for blocks. Entire livelihoods built on the assumption that Vegas never sleeps discovered that, in fact, it could. Tourism numbers tell the story. In 2019, Las Vegas welcomed more than 42 million visitors. In 2020, that number collapsed to just 19 million, the lowest since the 1980s. International travel bans wiped out entire markets. No high rollers from Asia, no convention crowds from Europe, no bachelor parties flying in from Canada. When casinos reopened in mid-2020, the experience felt alien. Plexiglass dividers on blackjack tables, masked dealers, hand sanitizer stations every few feet. Live entertainment, the very thing that set Vegas apart, was gone. Nightclubs stayed silent. Conventions, the backbone of weekday business, vanished. Something deeper shifted too. During the pandemic, Americans discovered alternatives. Instead of cramming into crowded casinos, people flocked to open-air destinations. National parks, mountain towns, small cities with charm but without the suffocating crowds. For the first time in decades, Vegas wasn't the default choice. By 2021, vaccines and reopening brought some life back. Big events returned: UFC fights, Garth Brooks concerts, the NFL draft announcement. But the city didn't feel the same. Some workers never returned to their jobs. Some beloved small businesses never reopened. For visitors, Vegas felt familiar, yet off, like a favorite song played in the wrong key. The pandemic did more than shut down Las Vegas. It exposed the city's most fragile truth. An economy built on the illusion that the party never stops can collapse overnight. And when the lights came back on, they revealed a strip forever changed. The only question was whether the comeback would restore the magic or reveal just how broken the system had become. The attempted comeback, 2022 to 2023. By 2022, the masks were coming off, restrictions were easing, and Las Vegas was desperate to roar back to life. Billboards screamed, "Vegas is back." Splashy ad campaigns flooded TV, and casinos threw open their doors with the energy of a city trying to erase 2 lost years. And at first, it worked. Big-name events returned with thunder. The NFL's Pro Bowl and NHL's All-Star Game turned the Strip into a sports mecca. Adele, Garth Brooks, even K-pop giant BTS announced residencies or concerts that drew global headlines. And towering above it all, the long-delayed Sphere Arena neared completion, promising the kind of futuristic spectacle only Vegas could deliver. Visitor numbers surged too. Nearly 39 million tourists came in 2022, almost back to pre-pandemic levels. The nightclubs pulsed again, convention halls filled with trade shows, and for a brief moment, it felt like Vegas had recaptured its magic. But behind the neon glow, the cracks from COVID never fully healed. Labor shortages haunted the industry. Many workers who lost jobs in 2020 never returned. Some retired early, others found steadier work in different states. Those who did return often faced heavier workloads, stretched thin across multiple roles. Guests noticed. Complaints about long waits, slower service, and an impersonal feel flooded social media. And then came the prices. Inflation didn't just hit grocery stores, it hit the Strip. Average hotel rates soared more than 30% compared to 2019. Resort fees climbed higher. A cocktail that once cost $12 now neared $20. Parking, once a signature perk of Vegas hospitality, was cemented as a paid luxury. Visitors began posting viral rants. Vegas is too expensive now. It's just not worth it. Meanwhile, competition grew fiercer. During the pandemic, travelers discovered other playgrounds: Miami's nightlife, Nashville's booming music scene, Austin's festivals, and even small tribal casinos across the U.S. Some of those new fans simply didn't come back to Nevada. Why spend $50 on parking and $25 on a margarita when other cities offered fun at half the cost? The Sphere finally opened in 2023 to global buzz, its LED-clad exterior dazzling millions online. It was peak Vegas, bold, futuristic, impossible to ignore. But here's the irony. Even as people posted videos of the Sphere, many weren't actually booking trips. The spectacle was going viral, without converting into visits. By the end of 2023, Vegas had survived the pandemic, yes, but the comeback exposed a darker truth. The Strip was running hotter on prices than on pure excitement. The city felt less like a magical escape and more like a corporate machine. And if the cracks were widening in 2023, the next phase would show just how much greed could hollow out the world's most famous playground. The price of greed, 2023 to 2025. By 2023, the signs were impossible to ignore. Las Vegas had weathered the pandemic storm, but instead of welcoming tourists back with open arms, the city doubled down on something else entirely: corporate greed. What used to be small annoyances transformed into open resentment. Resort fees, once $20, ballooned past $50 a night at some properties. Cocktails soared into the $25 to $30 range. A bottle of water? Try $10. Parking lots that had been free for half a century now charged more than airport garages. And everywhere you turned, there was a surcharge, an upsell, a convenience fee. The Vegas promise that this was the one place where you could indulge like royalty no matter your budget was unraveling. Visitors took notice, and their voices were loud. Social media rants went viral. $26 for a sandwich? $75 just to sit at a blackjack table. One Canadian tourist summed it up bluntly in a travel forum. Vegas doesn't want us anymore. They just want our wallets. The casinos had an explanation. Costs were up, inflation was real, and international competition was fierce. But here's the reality. Profit margins on the Strip were hitting record highs. Corporate logic wasn't about survival, it was about extraction. MGM, Caesars, Wynn, these weren't mob-backed dream factories anymore. They were Wall Street portfolios, squeezing every dollar of revenue per guest, while the magic slipped quietly out the back door. And the shift wasn't just about money. The atmosphere itself changed. Table minimums climbed so high that casual players were frozen out. Blackjack at $25 or $50 a hand wasn't fun anymore. It was stressful. Slots tightened, making wins rarer. The sense that anyone could walk in and strike it lucky faded, replaced by the cold reality that the house wasn't just winning, it was crushing. The impact? Tourists began voting with their feet. Some turned to off-strip casinos in Henderson or downtown, where the odds and prices were friendlier. Others skipped Vegas altogether, choosing Nashville honky-tonks, Miami nightclubs, or Caribbean resorts. Even loyal regulars started to cut trips short, saying they no longer felt valued, only harvested. By 2025, the Strip looked the same. The neon still flashed, the fountains still danced. But the vibe had shifted. Bars were half full. Blackjack pits sat quiet. The hum of excitement that once defined Sin City had dulled into something else: resignation. Because at its core, Las Vegas had traded its soul for quarterly profits. And when greed becomes the business model, even legends can die. The only question left: could Vegas find a way back from the brink? Or was this just the beginning of the endgame? The uncertain future, 2025 and beyond. Walk the Strip today, and you'll see the contradiction in plain sight. The neon still dazzles, the Sphere glows like something out of science fiction, and the fountains still leap to Sinatra's voice. But look closer. Empty blackjack tables, half-filled bars, hotel lobbies where your footsteps echo. The illusion remains, but the energy, the raw heartbeat of Vegas, is fading. Las Vegas stands at a crossroads. One path doubles down on the current model. Wall Street-led corporations squeezing every dollar from tourists, chasing profit margins while the city grows emptier. On paper, the casinos still make money. But what happens when the crowds finally stop coming? What happens when the legend itself no longer draws? The other path is riskier, but truer to what made Vegas iconic in the first place. Bringing back value. Bringing back unpredictability. Restoring the sense that anyone could walk in and feel like a king for a night. Whether you had $50 or $5,000. The kind of magic that built this desert mirage in the first place. Right now, Vegas hasn't chosen. It's stuck between spectacle and soullessness, between being a global icon and a hollow theme park. And that uncertainty is what you feel when you walk the Strip in 2025. Because here's the untold story. The fate of Las Vegas isn't just about casinos or cocktails. It's about whether a city built on dreams can survive once the dream itself dies. Las Vegas still shines, but its glow feels colder in 2025. The question is no longer can you win on the Strip. It's can Vegas win back its soul? What do you think? Has Sin City lost its magic forever? Or can it rise again? Drop your thoughts below.